Are you ready?
Activate.
Sequence start 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ignition.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Shadows in the Dark. I'm so glad you have joined us tonight. Whether you are at shadowsinthedarkradio.com, listening in our chat room there, or Dark Plains Radio Network at darkplainsradio.com, and tuning in to us through there. Of course, also, if you're an archive listener, we definitely appreciate that as well. Well, we're going to have an exciting show tonight. We have two guests tonight, Marie D. Jones and Larry Flaxman, and we're going to talk about the time prompt phenomenon. Should be a very interesting show. I had an opportunity to read the book that they have written, so we're going to get into that tonight. And we're going to get into it pretty quickly tonight instead of doing the news right off the bat because Marie and Larry are not joining us for the entire show. So we're going to save all our news and tidbits for the last 30 minutes of the show. But we just definitely wanted to welcome everyone to the show and just tell you how much this is going to be a lot of fun tonight. And just to kind of double check, we've had some changes on one of the networks there, Dark Plains Radio. So we want to make sure that we are getting sound and everything before we kind of move on, make sure we troubleshoot anything. So, like I said, it's going to be a fun show tonight. I'm looking forward to it, and a lot of the great things coming up. And so what we're going to do, we're going to take a quick little break, and when we come back, we'll have our guest on the line with us, and that's Marie D. Jones and Larry Flaxman.
Visit www.shadowsinthedarkradio.com today to sign up for our free newsletter, join as a member of our forum, or browse our online store where you can find books, CDs, and DVDs, like a signed copy of The President's Vampire by Robert Damon Schneck, or the complete works of Dr. Gary Frick for only $20. That's 4 books signed by Dr. Frick that carry a great message. You also find downloadable products like Mysteries Magazine and the Donald Kehoe interviews, DVDs featuring Charlie Carlson and Mr. Lobo. So go to www.shadowsinthedarkradio.com today and be a part of the show.
Mysterious numbers and strange sequences appear throughout the history of human experience. What do they mean? What secrets do they keep? Are these wake-up calls to a higher state of consciousness triggers of paranormal experience, or the activation of what some scientists refer to as junk DNA? Well, our guests tonight are going to help answer those questions. They are the authors of 1111, The Time Prompt Phenomenon, and that is Marie D. Jones and Larry Flaxman. Welcome to the show.
Well, it's good to be here.
Great, thank you.
Well, it's wonderful to have you on, and this is a very interesting topic. I mean, time. I mean, what other topic really hasn't perplexed man for thousands of years? So,
for a long time, huh?
Yes, exactly. So, now, if I'd like to start off is just for both of y'all, kind of tell us a little bit about each of yourselves there. Having two guests, it's a little tougher to read two bios and mix it all together. So whichever one of you would like to start, just tell us just a little bit about yourselves.
Go ahead, Larry.
Okay. Well, my name is Larry Flaxman. I am the co-author with Marie of 1111. As well as the Resonance Key, and we have a third book that we're working on now. Gosh, I don't even know what all to tell you. I'm the president of an organization called Our Past. It's the largest paranormal research organization in the country.
Wow.
Gosh, what else can I tell you? I'm a pretty cut straight kind of guy. So
all right.
That's about all I can tell you.
He doesn't like to talk about himself, does he?
It doesn't seem like it, no. That's fine. All right, Marie, how about yourself? Tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I'm an author. I've got several books out, some that I did before I met Larry, including Science, How New Discoveries in Quantum Physics and New Science May Explain the Existence of Paranormal Phenomena, which I believe won the award for longest subtitle. I've got a book called Supervolcano that I wrote with my dad, who's a geophysicist, a book called 2013, End of Days or New Beginning. I've written hundreds of articles and essays, book reviews, you name it. And I just teamed up with Larry, maybe a little over a year ago, and started writing books together, and we just signed for our third book. We have a book coming out next month, and we're doing a third book, so things have been moving really quickly. And we started an organization called Para Explorers that basically our goal is to explore unknown mysteries, modern and ancient, and write about them and educate people about them.
Oh wow, sounds interesting. You both are into a lot of things, which is great, and I think this is going to be a very interesting topic, especially your latest book, 1111, The Time Prompt Phenomenon. So, what got you both interested in time? And here we are talking.
I'm trying to stop
it. and explain a little bit exactly what the time prompt phenomenon is. Because I say time, but we're kind of talking about something specific here.
Exactly. Well, the funny thing is that when Larry and I first decided to be partners, we're in different parts of the country. I'm in Southern California. He's in Little Rock, Arkansas. And so we were talking on the phone about, well, what do we want to try to do first? We came up with a book idea that we wanted to pitch to my existing publisher, New Page Books, and we pitched it. And they said, well, maybe later. We want you to look into this 1111 time prompt phenomenon. And Larry and I were like, huh? What? We didn't know there was a phenomenon. And so we both started to do a little bit of research into it to see if it was something that we thought we wanted to write about. And we were blown away. I'll let Larry speak for himself, but we were just really blown away by how many people are experiencing these time prompts, which are basically number sequences or times that show up on the clock over and over again every time you look at them, and 1111 being the most prominent that we found.
Mm-hmm. Now, how many people have you kind of come across that have experienced this time prompt phenomenon? I know in the book you had tons of people, just talking about, and not just, 1111, talking 222, right. 333, things like that.
Well, we actually had quite a bit more people than we even had space for in the book that have had the time prompt phenomena experience. We were, as Marie said, we were very, very surprised at the sheer number of people that have had the experience. We thought when we when we engaged to do the book, that we would have a lot of issues with finding research material for this. We thought that, this was probably a singular phenomena. It wasn't something that was very widespread. And we quickly found that was not the case at all, that everybody, it seems like, has some type of a number sequence story, some type of a time prompt story. So, yeah, we ran across quite a few more people than we even had listed in the book.
Wow. Now, let's, what about yourselves? Have you, either one of you experienced this as well quite often?
Well, I personally, myself, before we actually started writing the book, I did experience the 11/11 phenomena myself, but I really didn't ascribe very much to it at all. I really thought it was much more of an inconvenience, really, more than anything else. And I really did think it was a singular thing, and that it was only me that was, just weird old Larry is just experiencing the 11/11 thing. I really didn't. I didn't realize that it was something that has a known phenomenological name or material associated with it. So then when we started writing the book, we started researching for the writing of the book. We ran across stories from experiences of people all over the world that have had similar type stuff. An interesting side note, when we were actually writing the book, and I'll let Marie talk about if she's the experiences that she may have had before we started writing the book, but in the process of writing the book, and even to this day, we've sent emails to each other many times. I mean, I've lost track of how many times it's occurred, where the timestamp on the email just so happened to be 11/11. I mean, that really happened to be much more so than just coincidental.
Right.
Yeah, I never had the 11/11s. I had and the funny thing is I had them maybe 6 months or so before this book idea was presented to us, where I was waking up at 2:22, 3:33, and 4:44 every night. Now, that's not really uncommon because I am an insomniac. I've been since I was a kid. And so I wake up all the time during the night. But I kept noticing those particular times when I would look at the clock. And I thought nothing of it except that, I've got, like Larry, I'm a fringe freak. I'm a weird person. So when Larry and I got this opportunity, it was just so funny to think that we both had some experiences. We both sort of tossed them off as being annoyances at the most, and yet now here we are writing this book that is selling very well. It's getting a lot of attention. We've got people emailing us with their stories, and it's just amazing how we had no idea when we were seeing those time prompts that 6 months, a year later, we would actually be writing a book about this kind of stuff.
Now, what makes this really a phenomenon, other than just being, familiar with something? Like, for example, you buy a car, and then all of a sudden you notice that car you bought everywhere. So what separates this from something like that?
I think actually in many ways the two are very, very similar. Were the cars there all along? You just weren't noticing them until you bought the car? Very likely so. It could very much be the same with the numbers. Perhaps the numbers have been around us all the time. The 11/11 experience, or whatever number it happens to be. Perhaps we've had that experience and it's occurred time and time again, but we really had no need to notice it until that time.
And that is one of the theories that we put forth, that this is purely the brain seeing pattern out of randomness, and then identifying that pattern over and over until it becomes habitual. But the reason why we call it a phenomenon is because there seems to be something else going on. And the vast majority of people that we contacted, or that we went on some 11/11 forums and we read about people's experiences, they really feel like there's something going on here. And we started to get the feeling that there was more to this than just the brain doing what the brain does when it creates a new habit, or it starts to notice something over and over, and it becomes something that it takes in all the time. And the 11/11 in particular was what really caught our attention, because, like we said, everybody sees different numbers, but the vast majority of people are reporting the same number sequence. Why? What is it with 11/11? And we were able to find a sort of origin point for the 1111 in that it is the exact time that the winter solstice is supposed to begin, according to the U.S. Naval Observatory atomic clock, on December 21st, 2012. And as you know, everybody's freaking out over what's going to happen when the Mayan calendar comes to an end on that date. And that was what we found to be the sort of catalyst for 1111 showing up so much in people's lives. And then that led into theories about, well, what does it mean? But at least we were able to pinpoint why 1111 seems to be so popular all over the world.
All right. Well, let's just take a bit to look at some of the theories to the time prompt phenomenon, and talk a little bit why that theory is there. Why some believe that this is the case. So I'll let you kind of start with whichever theory. I don't know exactly how many are out there, so whichever one you'd like to start with.
Well, I think we're just going to focus on 1111 and not time prompts in general, it seems like the story behind the 1111 is that at that time, something is going to happen. People's junk DNA is going to be activated. That's one of the theories. We're going to ascend to some new level of consciousness. That's another one. We're going to have some kind of major transformation. That's another one. And then you've got the group that thinks we're going to have total Armageddon.
Yeah.
And so what's happening now is that people are being triggered, they're being prodded and poked to wake up and pay attention, because this is coming and you need to pay attention and you need to prepare yourself. So there's a lot of people out there referring to their higher spirits or the way showers or the guardians or whatever you want to call them, that are using the 1111 time prompt to wake people up. That seems to be, unless, Larry, you've got something to add, I would think that's the main theory that we found.
Yeah, no, I definitely, I think that is probably the most probable theory.
Well, like I say, so wake up for what?
Well, that's what seems to be confusing people. Now, if you're talking about time prompts in general, if somebody's seeing 222, that doesn't really seem to have anything to do with 2012 and 1111. So what it could be, again, if we're getting away from the theory that we also look into in the book, which is that this is purely something that is triggered by the brain. Like you said, you go out and buy that purple Hummer thinking you're the only one that owns it.
Oh, right.
And all of a sudden you see thousands of them everywhere. And here in Southern California, you actually do. But, on the other side of that coin, people seem to feel like these time prompts are trying to tell them something, that they're being prodded into a present moment awareness where they're going to be given some kind of a message or maybe an intuition, or there's going to be a synchronicity that occurs. But first you have to get into the present moment to be ready to receive that. And with 1111, it seems like this is something that's going on a collective level, rather than an individual getting their own little individual message from wherever.
Mm. Oh, all right. Well, what are some of the other theories that are out there that are used for explanations for this? So you're saying that first, you're saying kind of the wake up call is pretty much the most accepted.
Well, I don't know about accepted. I mean, it's certainly not accepted by the scientific community, but
right. Well, yeah,
people, yeah. What is,
Yeah.
But in terms of the buzz that's going on about 1111, yeah, that's. There's a lot of talk about the fact that, our junk DNA, what is it for? Is there going to be a point in time when some of that DNA is activated? What's it going to do? Is it going to expand our use of our brains or raise our consciousness or make us, bionic powerhouses? But Larry, am I missing anything else in regards to the theories?
No, you got it.
That you can think of?
I think that's all I can think of too.
Yeah,
I mean,
it really, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, now, you're kind of talking about 1111, but you say, there is other time prompts that are seen, 222, 333, and I guess
12, yeah.
Right, 12. So I guess any combination there of the same digits. What about? I mean, is there any? I guess would it be considered a time prompt? Somebody always seen, say, 411. It was, they always woke up at say 411. They always seen it when they glance at the clock, which is what we're talking about here. They always seem to notice it. Do you categorize that in all of this, or does it really have to kind of be the 11:11, 4:44? Or...
No, it can be anything, any number sequence that shows up again and again. It can be in 7 or 8 numbers, like a Social Security or whatever. It doesn't have to be 4 digits on a clock. We've heard from people that see numbers that repeat on addresses, on bills, or they go to the 7-Eleven and buy a bunch of food, and on their receipt there's that number again. It just shows up over and over again. And again, if we want to go much deeper than just talking about these spooky little time prompts, the universe, the language of the universe is mathematics.
Mm-hmm.
So if something more intelligent than we are wants to talk to us, it would talk to us in its own language. So if these are universal wake-up calls or universal messages, obviously they would come in the form of numbers. And that's what kind of triggered Larry and I to get really into numbers in this book, way beyond these time prompts. I mean, we realized that there was so much more going on with numbers than just the fact that people see them over and over again. It's a language. They're symbols. They have power. They mean things to certain cultures, and it was just profound how much we learned about how important numbers are to our processing and our understanding of reality. So that was just like the tip of the iceberg. But no, 11:11, it can be anything. It can be 13731. If you see that 10 times a day, somebody's trying to tell you something. Whether it's your brain or the universe, that's up to you to figure out. But
yeah.
It's definitely it's the significance is that the number is a repeating pattern. I mean, that's really it. It's something, as Marie said, that just kind of follows you, but it repeats itself. That's what we're looking at.
All right, and you did open up in the book with, which, by the way, I do have a copy of. I don't think you either one of you are aware that I was reading it.
Did you really?
Yes.
Now you know all about numbers, huh? Your favorite subject.
That's right. I thought I got out of school, but apparently not. No, it was actually a very, very good book. It was very, very interesting. And yes, you opened up with talking about numbers. And I mean, you're right. Numbers are seen as power, as signs. I mean, this is something, through all cultures, and numbers play a huge part. And they have a lot of meaning, and some even more meaning than just accounting. Than accounting system,
Right.
So,
well, I think that, Larry will agree that is what we found to be the real subject matter of this book, is that, numbers are a language, and they're trying to tell us something. They've been around forever, but we're not paying attention. And so perhaps these time prompts, whether they come from our brain or from an outside source, are a way of getting us to look at that maybe sort of subconscious level, waking us up into the present moment, looking at things that go beyond what we see with our eyes. And
yes, and let me. I'm going to reach over and grab the book. If I'm sitting here with a microphone and I lay the book way away from me. This was brilliant, wasn't it? Now I want to say that the book I got, this is actually a review copy. It's, I guess, the unedited version that didn't have the pictures in it. And
God darn.
I know. I wanted the pictures. I'm going through, and it says, enter a picture of such and such here. And I'm like, well, I want to see the picture.
Oh, my gosh, you got a gallery. You know what? Email me your address, and I'll make sure you get a copy with all the pictures.
That's all right. No, that's all right. And I'll tell you when we go to the break why I actually have the galley instead of the actual book. But I mean, you get into a lot of numbers, and let's talk a little bit of exactly what role numbers have played. I mean, there's so many things around us that we don't realize that numbers are a huge part of. And I know you use examples in the book. You talk about the Rosalind Temple. You talk about ley lines. I mean, like I said, it goes on and on, and Roman numerals comes up. I mean, it's fascinating stuff. So give us kind of, a little more detail about numbers and the importance of them, and maybe even some examples through some of the cultures of how this played such a huge role in certain cultures.
You want to start, Larry? Or?
Well, that's a hugely encompassing question.
Yes, it was.
We're definitely gonna have to split that one up. That's a huge question. There's no doubt that numbers are definitely a language in themselves. As Marie said previously, there's really everything. All is number. It seems like a lot of the knowledge that our ancient ancestors had really was a lot. Oh, how do I want to word this? There's a lot of knowledge that they had regarding numbers and the creation of sacred temples and buildings and things that were built around numbers that we seem to have lost in modern times. Gosh, that really is a huge question.
It was.
Well, you know what? Larry just said that about the ancient structures and things being based upon numbers and how important numbers were. What I find really interesting is that just in the last couple of years, numbers have been behind some of the most successful books and movies. I finally saw Knowing the other night with Nicolas Cage. I don't know if
good movie.
You've seen that. It was great. I loved it, and it was all about numbers.
Yes.
Dan Brown's Da Vinci Code. I mean, my God, if you haven't read that book or seen the movie, you should be shocked. It's all about sacred geometry. He's got a new book coming out that is already a best-selling book. It's not even out yet. That's all about Freemasonry and how Washington, D.C. was built upon sacred geometry and precise measurements and numbers that were aligned with the divine powers. And, there's other things, too. The thing is that in our own culture today, we do have access to stories and movies and TV shows. I mean, we've got this drama series called Numbers. We have Lost, which had a lot of number symbolism in it. But we don't pay much attention to it because we take numbers for granted, and we do that because we have the memories of high school math that really kind of turn numbers sour to us. And Larry and I were writing the book. We're like, oh my God, we both hate math. We hate numbers. What are we doing? And we don't feel that way anymore. But, he was talking about ancient. Now we're here in modern day, and we're still looking at numbers as being very profound. But nobody quite realizes that we're doing it.
Right.
I mean, we know that numbers are at the basis of our reality. What we see and what we don't see. And Larry, being a paranormal investigator, it's really interesting that he has a lot to say about the fact that numbers and movement can even play a part in how paranormal phenomenon manifests. And we write a little bit more about that in our new book about resonance and vibration and frequency, which has a lot of mathematics and physics behind it. So again, I mean, even in music, it's all based on number.
It is.
We just don't think about it.
Right. Well, yeah, and I know, like I say, even in IT and computers, and the reason why I'm using that as an example is because that's my profession, and we have someone who works for us. Their education is music. And, I asked him one day, I said, how in the world did you get into, IT work, information technology? And that was his reply. He says, it's actually pretty much the same. It's based on numbers and math.
Wow.
And, he says, you get a lot of, and of course, we work with a lot of, scripting, development kind of stuff. So, it's exactly, I mean, there's a lot, numbers are in everything around us, and sometimes we don't realize that.
Right. Well, Larry's in IT, so he knows all about that.
We definitely do tend to take numbers for granted. I mean, they are such a common thing. I mean, you see them on everything: cell phone, credit cards, PIN numbers, addresses. I mean, everything has numerics involved with it. So we do tend to become very, very dulled to the sense of the importance of numbers. But if you stop and think about it for a second, if numbers were just instantly erased from our lives, just stop and think, how would we survive as a society without numbers?
it would break down, because I mean, computers at the heart are about bits of information.
Zeros and ones. You know, financial infrastructure, everything, you know, really revolves around numbers.
And time, and we're so dependent on looking at our watches, you know, and our cell phones, and to dial that right number to get that right person. And that's a really interesting thing to think about. I think society would crumble.
Yeah, absolutely it would.
Well, yeah, I mean, we are very dependent on these things. I mean, gosh, I mean, it's all around us. We live by time. You know, you got to be at work at such and such time, and
your work is at a precise location that has an address, a physical measurement to get there. That, you know, how many miles, and everything comes down to numbers. But we just think that they're mundane and functional. And yet ancient civilizations that built their temples and monuments, they knew that there was something more, that this was a language that had a direct connection to the divine, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Now, what about numbers within names and stuff? I mean, you even do this kind of in the book, and a big example that you use is, the 9/11 tragedy, and you know, and we've done this before on the show. You know, adding up numbers, you know, or counting the numbers in your name, and you know, adding them up to a single digit. And you know, in this one, you were using. There's a lot of not similarities, but you end up with the number 11, and a lot of what happened with 9/11.
Yeah, we actually got that from Uri Geller has a very famous website where he compiled all of these little factoids. But Larry and I are firm believers in being the devil's advocate. We want to be objective and approach things from two sides. So we included some of the things that had to do with 9/11 that had nothing to do with the number 11. And I know Larry will agree with me. In terms of numerology, it seems like there's something there. There is something about numerology that has a basis in ancient knowledge. The problem is you've got these modern-day numerologists who put their own interpretation on things, or they don't really understand the system or the history that they're using to give their readings. And we gave examples in the book using Larry's name and my name in different formats, and I came out with two different master numbers. So how do you explain that? So there's a lot to numerology that just doesn't quite fly, but that doesn't mean that the basic knowledge that our ancestors had wasn't correct, or that there wasn't anything to it.
Right.
Larry, did you want to add anything to that? I wasn't sure.
No, Marie, that was, she nailed it. That's exactly right.
Okay, and yeah, I mean, it's I'm kind of flipping through here some of those pages that kind of talks about numbers and names. What kind of, you talk about a master number. What does that exactly mean? If when you say you came up with two different master numbers.
Well, when you take your name and you ascribe numbers to the letters in your name, A being 1, blah blah blah, you come up with a number, the final summation number that you can come up with. Say Marie D. Jones adds up to 18, and it doesn't. I'm just throwing that out there because I don't have a calculator nearby, but then you would add 8 and 1, and you would get your master number of 9. So it's the absolute final summation number that you can come up with. The problem is, some systems of numerology tell me that I should use my birth name, which is Marie Duffine Savino. Oh. Some systems tell me that I should use my common name, which is Marie B. Jones. Other systems say, use the name that you feel most comfortable with, which is Marie Duffine. So which one?
Right, yeah.
Larry Flaxman, Lawrence Flaxman. I mean, which one of those names does Larry use? And that's the argument that we were making, that if none of these systems are really in full agreement with each other, we can't give a whole lot of scientific credibility to any of them.
Mm-hmm. Now, what about in numerology? And I know I've heard 7 represents kind of divinity. It's a number commonly associated, of course. 6 kind of, evil, of course, comes from 666.
Right.
9 being, what is it I've heard about? It being kind of the
Trinity triple. That's like a real power number, yeah.
Right, yeah.
Well, Larry, you want to talk about that, or?
Sure. What is there a specific number that you're asking about, or just any like?
Well, just kind of in general, the with maybe a little bit of each number, kind of what some of the numbers represent. Most commonly, like I say, we're saying 7 divinity, and maybe, where does that kind of originate? I guess maybe is kind of what I'm asking is how did some of that come to be?
Oh gosh, Ray, do you remember any of the actual history?
Larry, you might disagree. Well, I don't think you will. We usually agree on everything, but I think there are two places that Larry and I try hard to go back to original sources. And, with ancient knowledge, you really can't always do that. So you've got, like, Gematria, the Kabbalah, you've got the Jewish alphabet, and all kinds of, or Hebrew alphabet, I should say, all kinds of different ancient systems that aligned a number to a letter. The problem is that we don't know what those interpretations were supposed to be because we don't have every holy text that ever existed that explained it. So what we have now is we have modern people trying to interpret what they think the number 7 means based on the little bit of written information that we get from, a civilization that occurred 2,000-3,000 years ago. And this is the argument behind 2012. What did 2012 mean to the Mayans? Probably something completely different than it's come to mean to those of us today in 2009.
Yeah.
So there's ancient wisdom about the meaning of numbers, and you really have to go research that. Or you can go on the internet and look up numerologists, and you'll get Joe Schmo's reading for $50 where he tells you that you're a number 5 and you're stubborn and you're not good at relationships.
Right.
So it's so open to interpretation, and it really calls for a lot of discernment.
Now, part of the old the 2012, even looking at that, you've got that the repeat 12/21 2012.
Right.
Any significance in that? Do you think that plays a role in some of the 2012 interests, phenomena, or whatever you want to call it?
Gosh, I think anytime people sense a pattern or they can find some kind of matching symbolism, sure, they're going to make something out of it. Look what happened with Y2K.
Oh, yeah.
It was the year 2000, and even though people who, are Armageddonists were not paying attention to the fact that the book of Revelation never talked about a particular millennium, it just said a millennium, we take that symbolism of the year 2000 and we attach all kinds of meaning to it and interpretation. And that's what I think people are doing with 2012.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, and of course, like I said, other numbers, the number 13, the number that's considered unlucky. Even hotels don't have a 13th floor.
Who are they fooling?
I know, technically they do, but yeah. You've got places that will, like say hotels, they leave out 13th floors.
Really, you have to be an idiot to not know that if you're on the 14th floor, it's probably the 13th.
But I guess in the power of numbers, can you trick a number? I don't know.
It's superstition.
Yeah, airlines even leave out 13th aisles. But if you were smart enough to count back, you would know that you were sitting in the 13th aisle.
Right.
Who are they fooling? But we're humans. We have this reptilian brain that just hangs on to superstition and fear and symbolism. And what's funny is, Larry, I think you should tell them what happened at your conference you did a few weeks ago, what your room number was.
Yeah. Yeah, I was speaking at a conference on 11/11, and just, coincidentally, or maybe not, my room number was 111. So I thought that was really cool. I had to take a picture of that and send it to Marie. That was.
Really, come on. Out of all the rooms that he could have gotten, 111. But it could be the universe is just having fun with us. But I don't know. It just seems like there's something going on when you start to look for it. And maybe that's what the key to all this is starting to pay attention to the synchronicities and the things that occur on a different level from the one that we're so used to living in our day-to-day lives.
Mm-hmm. Now, what are some, I know you even talk about the number 12. I guess is 12 kind of seen as a good number? I mean, example is used, 12 apostles, 12 signs of the zodiac.
It's a divine number, right. And that's why 13 gets a bad rap, because it's like, can't quite be number 12. But again, it's just so crazy, because we found a really cool fact about 666. And everybody knows the association with the Antichrist and the number of the beast, yet in China, that number means things going well. It's a beneficial number. So, because they're not of the Western tradition, that's not a part of their culture. The Armageddon thing they have their own Armageddon beliefs, but who knows what they are. So it just shows you that, it varies from place to place. There are places where number 13 is revered.
Right, and the Eastern religions, actually the Eastern culture, they're very superstitious too, by the way. We
just don't understand their superstitions because they're so strange.
It's some of it's amazing.
It is,
to be honest. I have worked in the casino industry, and when we would have someone of Eastern descent in the casino, and literally you couldn't. They didn't want you to talk to them, be around them, because they felt that you stole their luck.
Yeah, isn't that weird? My sister-in-law is from Taiwan, and every now and then she'll say something about a belief, and we'll kind of look at her like, what? And she said, oh, yes, millions of people believe that. I don't know why, but it's amazing what people will believe. And because numbers are so important, we all have 7 as our lucky number, and 6 is not a good number. And when you go to pick your lottery numbers, never pick 13. And Friday the 13th is a bad day.
Right.
It's just ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, you also have a chapter on, and we've mentioned a synchronicity. And let's talk a little bit about that. And for those who may not be familiar with it, or the terminology used for it, can you explain it a little bit? What exactly is synchronicity?
Well, synchronicity it's when an event, well, I should say maybe more than one event, occurs at the same time. I'm trying to think what would be a good example of that.
Larry getting the room 111 when he's going to speak on 1111.
Yeah, it's when there's really one or more events really that are causally related, or actually I should say unrelated, that kind of occur in kind of a meaningful manner, much like I got the 111 room. To many people that would be, not really a meaningful event, and it's just a room. That happens to be my room number. But just the fact that we had written a book about this, and that number has some special significance as a result, then it becomes meaningful, and that's the basics of synchronicity.
And I know one of the, like I say, you have a lot of, personal experiences kind of throughout the book, and in that chapter, there's the one about the man who talks about too many 18s, that he finds 18 just all through his life. I was like born on the 18th. His year he was born adds up to 18. Born 9:54 a.m. Adds up. Things like that. It's which another example. And what coming across, and now I mean, were these just submitted, or did you get to interview some of these people with some of these experiences?
A little bit of both. We talked to people in person. We had people send us stories. Some of them, there's a couple of stories, I think in the Synchronicity chapter, that are good friends of mine that submitted stories to us. And like Larry said, we got so much stuff that we could have easily done 2 sequels. But, we only could do 1 book, and you have a word count. But it was just amazing, because even now we're getting emails. I got one today that I shared with Larry of a girl that was seeing 1111s and 111s, and how she really thought of it as being something very fun. And it's amazing. Now, some people, not very many, but some people see it as being a little sinister. I mean, every now and then you get a story of someone who says that their so-and-so died at a certain time, and then there was another tragedy at this time. And
right.
But most of the stories were either positive or neutral at the very least. So it just, it's a fun way. A synchronicity is something that really snaps you into attention. You realize these two events are occurring. They have a symbolic meaning to me, but I'm not seeing the cause. The cause is occurring on a different level of reality. And that's what really fascinated Larry and I is, well, what level of reality is the cause occurring on? And again, we get totally into all that stuff in our next book. We talk about where those causes might be taking place. And we're only seeing the results. So to us, it looks like a really cool coincidence. But I don't think there's any coincidence in this world.
Now, what about, excuse me, I got a little distracted. Yeah, you've had some that have, said that they've had bad things happen. You mentioned that. And, I mean, so I guess some of these numbers can just scare people. They start seeing it a lot, and then they start associating that with bad things, and then it continues to happen. How does that play? I mean, kind of, if you've got it on both sides, does that really hinder kind of figuring out where this is coming from, or does it kind of maybe give a little more insight?
I'm thinking, I'll let Larry talk after this, but I just had a thought that, perhaps you bring to the event, you bring the meaning to it that relates to your state of mind. If you're a negative person, if you live in fear and anxiety, perhaps those are the synchronicities that you're drawing to you. I mean, that could be. But, again, the majority of people did not have any negative associations. And again, we have to wonder, if you notice a bad thing happens at 4 o'clock 3 or 4 times, could your brain just all of a sudden start not only noticing it, but creating bad things that happen every time it's 4 o'clock? So, yeah, we had to get into all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would agree, definitely.
So, I mean, would it be kind of, I guess in a way, you're saying that the numbers have their own meaning for each of us. So to you, 7 is something different than maybe 7 to me in the whole scheme of things, I guess.
I think they can have a collective meaning. I mean, surely in our Western culture, we look at number 7 as being a lucky number. We've got lucky 7 casinos, but we found that there seems to be collective meaning, like with the 1111, and individual meaning, where somebody might see a very odd number sequence. But sometimes, Larry and I had to ask the question, is it the numbers that are really important, or the message that they are waking people up to? It's like, is the messenger important or the message? And a lot of people were not getting the message. They had the time prompts. They had nothing really to associate it with yet. A lot of people said later on they would finally get it. The aha would go off in their head and they would get the association. So, is the number 1111 trying to tell us something? Or is the number 1111 the messenger, and the message is something that we've got to get either collectively or individually on our own?
Well, what is the most interesting experience that someone has shared with you in regards to 1111?
Larry, you want to go first on that one?
Well, I'm trying to think of the most interesting. Really, all of the stories that we got while we were writing the book, there was really nothing of a transcendental nature. In other words, the people that have had these experiences, really nobody's had a life-changing event as a result of them. Mm-hmm. Many people think that the 1111 phenomena or the time prompt phenomena is such a signal for something that people change their entire life based on that. And we really didn't see any indication of that. We really didn't see anybody that has made any major life changes based on the fact that they're waking up every morning at 1:11, et cetera. I'm trying to think, Marie. I can't really think of anything.
I agree with Larry, but we did get from people the sense that they were being prodded to pay attention to something that might occur later. And with the 1111, perhaps that is something that's going to occur collectively on 2012. We can't really discount that. But for me, my friend Scott Westmoreland is a very famous artist. If you go to his website, world famous artist, contributed a story that was really interesting about all the time prompts he and his wife had, and how his children were conceived according to time prompts. So it's very personal things like that. And he still calls me and tells me about all his amazing time prompt things. they can be very profound and meaningful to someone personally, but we're also getting the sense that there is a collective meaning that we maybe don't know yet. We're still trying to put the pieces together of what that could be. And just about everybody we talked to said they felt the same thing, that they may not have understood what this was trying to tell them, but they did understand that it was trying to tell them something. And sometimes that's a start. That's the most important thing, is to at least be aware that you're going to be getting some information and be open and receptive to it.
Right. Now, have you come across anybody? I know you said nobody's really had a life-changing experience or anything like that, but have you found anybody that, this time prompt phenomenon actually caused them to kind of change their lives or live their life around that?
I wouldn't say live around the time prompt, but certainly we saw a lot of stories come in from people who said that they started to pay attention enough to their lives because of the time prompts, because of the, being pushed into the present moment. We're always worried about the future and thinking about what we did wrong in the past. And that a lot of people, once they started thinking in terms of the present moment, they began to realize, hey, my life's not working, my relationship's not working, I hate my job, I'm 50 pounds overweight. And people did make those changes. They were prompted to pay attention to what was going on right in front of their faces, instead of constantly brooding about different time frames, the past or the future. So that was really neat. And I feel like that's happened with me, and maybe Larry feels the same way. It's just sort of a way to get us to wake up to, hey, life is being lived right in front of your face. Pay attention.
Yes, I think that's actually a very valuable lesson that probably many people could probably learn something from, and just pay attention.
Mm-hmm. Now, one thing I really haven't asked you, and I'm kind of interested on your opinion, because, like I said, time is something that has perplexed man and our humans for, I guess, ever since we could realize or whatever. What exactly is both of y'all's opinion on time? Is it something?
Oh, God. Well, you really ask the simple questions, don't you?
I try my best. What exactly is your opinion? Is this a man-made concept? Is time really there? I mean, what is your opinions?
Larry, you want to go first? That's a juicy one.
Yeah, it is. That's another one of those all-encompassing questions. Time. It's definitely it's a man-made construct for sure. The clock is very much of an artificial reality in itself. But I think that, and I'm speaking off the cuff here, Marie may not even agree with this because we've actually never had this question before. But my personal belief is that just because we have been needing a means to track things for eternity, that it has become that the time and the tracking of time has become such an ingrained part of us that it actually has become a part of who we are and what we are. So even though it's an artificial thing, in a sense, it really isn't. It's become much more of a related. I don't even really know how to say what I'm thinking with that, but
I agree.
Yeah.
I think on the cosmic level and on the quantum level, time is not linear. We know that. Science tells us that. But because we're human beings and we've got these brains and we have limitations, we have to live within time frames in order to measure the accomplishments that we came here to do. This is my take, and it aligns with Larry's, but I want to go one step beyond that and say that perhaps one of the reasons why these time prompts might be occurring, maybe the Mayans, maybe ancient civilizations that knew more than we did and were just now rediscovering what they knew, understood that at some point we were going to need to go beyond our ability to perceive time and go beyond the three-dimensional and one-time dimension, go beyond the limitations that we are stuck with now. And that might be what people think is going to happen in 2012. Perhaps part of our DNA includes something that will allow us to consciously perceive time in a new way. Our brains will be retrained retrained to perceive it in a new way, and we will be able to get over some of these limitations that we have of aging and time passing too quickly. And that's my personal belief. We're stuck in a time warp, but I think that we're on the verge, even technologically, of breaking out of it. Does that make any sense?
Good enough. I might have to listen to the archives a few more times, but no.
Like Larry said, we're stuck living with time. That's how we measure our days and nights. But I think that there's more to us than that, and we are on the verge of breaking out of having to live within that time frame.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I tell you what. Let's go ahead and take a break. We usually do it around 10:30, but I don't want to cut too much out of the last part before you both leave us, because you're not going to be here the full show. So I want to go ahead and take a quick little break. So you guys, I'll give you a break from the questions. So, all right. Well, all those tuning in, we're going to take a quick little break. When we return, we're going to continue talking about the 1111, the time prompt phenomenon, with our guests Marie Jones and Larry Flaxman. You are listening to Shadows in the Dark, broadcasting live at shadowsinthedarkradio.com and Dark Plains Radio at darkplainsradio.com. The show can also be heard as a rebroadcast at ParaX at para-x.com and available as a podcast at Black Vault Radio at blackvaultradio.com and Planet Paranormal at planetparanormal.com.
Have you been wondering what gift to get that special person in your life? Then you need to visit Mountain View Candle Works, your one-stop headquarters for candles, fountains, specialty foods, and much more. Just visit www.mountainviewcandleworks.com. We make your candles with mountain care.
More than just another New Age journal, Mysteries Magazine provides a thought-provoking, in-depth look into myths, magic, and the paranormal, as well as the mysteries which have intrigued both historians and scientists from the beginning of time. So subscribe today by visiting www.mysteriesmagazine.com or pick up a copy at select newsstands throughout the U.S. and Canada. Again, that was www.mysteriesmagazine.com. Challenge your beliefs.
Are you wondering if the path that you've chosen is the right one for you? Or would you like to see a glimpse of what the future may hold? Tarot may be able to help you understand better the path that you're on. The cards don't lie, nor do they lead you astray, as they're a vehicle for messages from God, angels, and guides. Have your cards read for you by world-renowned tarot card master Scotty Roberts. To schedule a private reading with Scotty, visit www.tarotbyscotty.com today and find out what the cards may hold for you.
Ready for some rollicking adventure? In Scotty Roberts' book, The Rollicking Adventures of Tam O'Hare, join Irish Rabbit, Tam O'Hare, and his young squirrel squire, Horatio McNutt, as they journey through Scotland of the mid-1500s seeking a small child who's been stolen by the fairy folk. Crafty raccoon pirates, conniving noble wolves, conflicted royal foxes, and self-serving religious badgers all stand in the way as their quest brings them headlong into high seas action and supernatural intrigue. The Rollicking Adventures of Tam O'Hare is in bookstores everywhere and at barnesandnoble.com. This hardcover, lushly illustrated chapter book is the first book in the Tam O'Hare series. But hang on to your sabers. Book 2, Tam O'Hare and the Banshee of Ballyglenmorrow, is coming later this year. So swash your buckle and prepare yourself for a historically rollicking, swaggeringly supernatural adventure. Visit TamO'Hare.com to learn more. You'll never trust a raccoon with a sword again.
Hello everybody, this is Mr. G from the World Paranormal Society and from Haunt the Hunters on DarkPlainsRadio.com. I would like to tell you about a website. It's called TreasureForAllUSA.com, where I got everything from knickknacks to complete DVR systems. A place where you can shop for everything and everything, and if we don't have it, I'll find it for you. That's again, TreasureForAllUSA.com, everything from DVR systems, TV sets, knickknacks, and gifts for loved ones. Come check it out, TreasureForAllUSA.com. You won't be disappointed.
Well, tonight we're talking with Marie Jones and Larry Flaxman about their latest book, 1111, The Time Prompt Phenomenon. And Larry and Marie, we haven't given where folks can find this book and your website. So before we really get into anything else, let's let them know where that is.
Well, you can find our primary website at www.paraexplorers, that's PARAEXPLORERS.com, which is kind of a play on the word of pair of explorers. It's Marie and myself, so it's the two of us. We also both have our own individual websites. Marie's writing website is www.mariedjones.com, and my organization, RPAS's website, is www.arpast.org.
And the book can be found in bookstores, anywhere, online, brick and mortar, wherever fine books are sold. I just wanted to say that,
and like I said, I have been reading it. It's a great book, so hopefully, our listeners will go and check that out as well. It's a very interesting topic, and we're going to get some more into that right now. Excuse me. And, we were kind of talking before we went to the break there about time, and what your opinions kind of were of that, and, how you've seen that. And, you know what, I just had the question in my head, and it just left me. Is that bad?
Oh, I hate when that happens. It's tucked in your memory somewhere. You got to try to pull it out.
Yes, I do. Well, I tell you what, it's interesting. This will make the best of clips, I'm sure. Well, let's. I do want to hear about your group, Para Explorers, a little bit. What exactly do y'all look into? Obviously we're talking about the time prompt phenomenon here. What do you look into anything else besides time?
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing is outside of our purvey, I would say. We actually are in an unusual, a very good situation with Para Explorers in that my organization, RPAST, is our primary charter is to investigate paranormal phenomena, primarily those of the ghostly nature. But Para Explorers is really something special and something quite a bit different, in that we look for things that are outside of the realm of typical, quote, haunting, and I use that term very loosely, while still being able to utilize all of the resources of RPAST. RPAST is the largest paranormal organization in the country. Well, if you don't include TAPS as an umbrella organization, but freestanding entity organization, we are the largest. We are definitely the most well-funded. We utilize about $250,000 worth of equipment.
Wow.
So we're able to draw upon that and use some of our scientific equipment, our methodologies and things to be able to do research and investigative seeking for things that are outside of the charter of RPAST. So it's kind of a win-win situation.
Yeah, and Larry and I are currently developing some questionnaires that we are going to be using for research for our next book, which is about mind anomalies like deja vu and fugues and altered states of consciousness and things like that. But what's really interesting is when we first talked about Para Explorers, we realized we were going to do things that were outside of the charter of RPAST, and we were going to go places and look into things. But I have to tell you, it's shocking because we have gotten back-to-back book deals. This doesn't happen in publishing. I've been writing for all my life.
Right.
And so basically we've been writing books, and we keep saying, okay, now we're going to stop and take a break, and then boom. So we're taking advantage of the fact that we are in a very, very lucky situation that people would kill for. But eventually we really want to get out there and look at all kinds of unknown mysteries.
I think eventually we'd really like to take a break, too.
Yeah, good luck. Yeah, you do that, Larry.
Now,
in my world, there's no such thing as a break.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I think who needs sleep? It's
no,
not
but
necessary.
We do need to. We decided that we were going to take a break from writing books because we really want to focus on education
We do.
And doing some other things. But, gee, we just keep getting offered these book deals. And far be it from us to say no.
Well, now, you talked about that your next book's going to touch on the subject of deja vu. Now, I have to kind of ask about that because, quite honestly, I experience deja vu very often.
I do too, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it just leaves such a funny feeling, and especially when you experience it so much.
Right.
What is your take on deja vu?
We're just starting the research, so we're not going to say too much. But
Okay.
I think I'll speak for myself, then I'll let Larry talk. What we're going to be looking at is, again, like with the 1111 time prompts, how much of this is exterior influence and how much of this is interior, the human body, the brain. And really, that's going to be the focus of all of these mind anomalies. Is the mind connected to some greater level of reality that we like to refer to as the 0-point grid, which is our understanding of the 0-point field. And, how much of this is just the brain at work and memory and little glitches in the brain, and how much is something beyond that? Because even scientists are starting to kind of take a look at the idea that deja vu may not be as simple as they thought it was. And Larry, you have anything to say on that?
Well, no, I would definitely agree with that. Personally, I can't really say that I've really had a whole lot of deja vu experiences. I've had a few times where I've kind of thought maybe I've been here before, but really not any type of a strong feeling of deja vu. So this book to me is really going to be interesting because that is definitely something that I would love to really experience. So I get to live through the eyes of others on this.
Yeah, I've actually had, ever since childhood, I've had extended deja vu experiences where some people can lucid dream. That's another thing we'll be looking into. I have been able to extend a deja vu a little bit longer than if it just happens at random, where it maybe, lasts for a fraction of a second. And it has left me feeling nauseous and dizzy, and it really is a creepy sensation. And I do not know that I buy the traditional belief that this is just a little misfunction of my brain cells, in the area of the brain that controls memory. It does not feel that way. It'll be interesting.
And I've kind of thought that myself, having experienced deja vu quite often, that it's got to be something more to it than, like you say, just kind of some little quick replay.
Right. Well, where there's smoke, there's fire. Firm believer.
All right. Well, now I have a question from our chat room, or the chat room over at shadowsinthedarkradio.com, from Bambi. And kind of being, investigators of hauntings and ghostly phenomenon, she's asking, do you believe that ghosts are possibly time travelers, that they're here to try to tell us something?
I've actually, that's interesting. I've actually heard that theory before. Really, I don't have any quantifiable way to give you an answer, yes or no on that. Personally, do I think so? No. And the reason why I personally don't believe that is I would say the best evidence that we've gotten has been EVPs, electronic voice phenomena. And the EVPs that we've received, there really has not been any type of indication of that there was any type of time relationship to what's going on. Most of the EVPs that we capture they're very much related to the current situation, what's going on. What are the investigators wearing? What's immediately present in the room type stuff. There really hasn't been anything to kind of give me the idea that these are time travelers, or these are people that have come from an alternate timeline that have somehow come back to communicate with us. And then my second point about that is, really, if you're coming back, if ghosts are some type of time travelers, why are they not saying anything more interesting? I mean, really, the evidence, the photographic evidence, video evidence, audio evidence, really there's not any type of, there's no commonalities to them, and there's really nothing that's just so exciting where they're jumping out and saying, we're from the future.
2012, you're all going to die.
Yeah.
All right. Now, and now I want to ask you a question about EVPs, and get your take, because I've been I had a group for about 3 years where we went out, investigated alleged haunted locations and whatnot, and there was an EVP that we picked up at a historic house here in our local area that is just really fascinated me, and I've not heard of anybody that has picked up one like this or really had an explanation for it. So I want to pose this question to you, or this see what your thoughts are on it. The situation is, like I said, we were in a historic house, big house. It was 5 levels if you count the attic, which was huge, and basement, which was huge. So mainly we were on the middle 3 levels, and we had recorders and cameras, whole 9 yards on all 3 levels. The digital, cassette, mini cassette, a whole 9 yards, and we picked up an EVP that told us to go away. A whispery voice, very clear, actually, very. I would put it as a class 8, to be honest. No cleaning up needed to it or anything. The odd thing was that we picked it up on every single piece of equipment that we had on that could record audio, whether it be a digital recorder or a camcorder, cassette recorder, all at the same volume
Wow.
or sound level. Any thoughts on that? I mean, when we're talking, some of these were, every bit of probably 100 feet from each other. It's just a very large house, and they were scattered all through the house.
Wow, that's really cool. I'd love to hear that, but no, I don't really have any type of explanation for that. Especially, if you had that on multiple pieces of equipment in multiple disparate locations throughout the house. No, that's kind of mind-boggling.
I think it comes down to our lack of understanding about energy and how it can transform. Because it seems to me, and Larry, correct me if I'm wrong, because you're the one out there in the field, but when we're talking about visual ghosts and auditory, EVP, we're talking about energy that is coming from somewhere else, making its presence known in our level of reality. But it's like until we understand how that works, what the mechanism is, it doesn't matter how many investigations people go out on and how many images they capture on cameras or EVPs. If we don't understand how energy works on that level and how it gets to this level and the interchange that goes on, I mean, are we going to ever really understand any of this stuff? I guess that's the question I'm asking.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Because it's frustrating. You've got how many millions of groups out there going out every weekend, some every night practically, and yet we still have not really advanced our knowledge of what's going on here, because I think too few of these people have a basic scientific understanding of energy or can even theorize beyond our knowledge of it to try to imagine what it might be doing to get from one level to another. And I think that's sorely needed, and that's really the void that we're trying to fill, if we can.
Mm-hmm. Now, I have another question from the chat room from GL, and this is about your book 2013. Which when I seen that you've written a book on 2013, you kind of mentioned it. Sparked. You hear the 2012, and then I guess he's asking, what do you think will happen then? What is going to be? What is 2013 going to be like?
Well, you really like to ask those questions, huh? I keep falling off my chair and having to get back up. And
that one's from the chat room now.
My book is different because what I wanted to do is I wanted to come at the whole 2012 thing from a very objective standpoint, as if I were a reporter who was told by their supervisor, go get the story. And I literally write about every theory. Larry's got a great essay in there, by the way, as do a lot of people in various fields have contributed essays on their viewpoints. But I wanted to write about every theory that's out there and every prediction and prophecy that I could find, and there were quite a few. But then in the second half of the book, I really wanted people to become aware of the real challenges that we're facing in the world that are in the headlines now. And I think people just, go put on CNN and you can see what some of those are. What do I think personally is going to happen? A lot of things are going to happen that year, just like a lot of things are happening now. We're swearing in a new Supreme Court justice. We're going to have natural disasters. Do I think it's going to be Armageddon? No. The Mayans never said that. Neither did the Aztecs. No Mesoamerican culture has ever said that. Armageddon is a Western traditional concept. Are things going to happen? Yes. Yes, definitely. We see the headlines now. We know things are coming. The only thing I can't predict is whether or not there's going to be some kind of transcending of consciousness. I think that's going to be up to the public at large. Mm-hmm. Larry, what do you think?
I definitely agree with that. I think, if you look at 2012, to me personally, is going to be a non-event. I think it's going to be very much like what we experienced with Y2K, when we were all concerned and worried that, that the financial infrastructure, the power infrastructure, everything was going to fail and crash and burn, and nothing happened. Mm-hmm. And I think that's it's probably going to be very similar to what happens in 2012. I think, other than possibly, all of us having a shift of consciousness, I really don't think that the doom and gloom that some people really have predicted is going to take place. But I do agree with Murray that, it really comes down to our own interpretation of it and what we, as a society, get from it.
Right. And,
also what our collective intention might be. I mean, who knows? Yeah. Maybe we're all going to make something happen. That'll be really interesting to see.
Right, yeah. And things like that have kind of been shown, especially like the meditations on a crop circle. I think that's just one of the most amazing experiments anyone's done. You have a mass of people focus on one thing, and boom,
right,
it appears as a crop circle somewhere. That's
the
very
power of collective intention. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. I've definitely heard the theories. That the Mayan calendar, that it's like our very own calendar, just starts back over. That's what
exactly. It recycles back to zero, and that is what people in universities and academia who study Mesoamerican cultures will tell you, that they believe in a cyclical reality, and their calendar cycled back. But you know what? Again, neither Larry or I are going to sit here and say for sure that we know nothing's going to happen, because nobody knows. We could have another amazingly awful terrorist attack, and you can be sure that everybody's going to ascribe it to the Mayan calendar, when maybe that's just when it occurred. It might occur next year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, we don't have a lot of time left, because I know you both weren't going to join us for the entire show. And before we do end up running out of time, because I'll get into something, and the next thing you know, it's time to go. You give your website one more time for those who may have missed it, and where 1111, the time prop phenomenon, is available.
Well, you can find our information about us at www.paraexplorers, PARAEXPLORERS.com, and you can find our books any place that sells books, really, online, local. What was your saying, Marie?
Anywhere fine books are sold.
Yeah, there you go.
Well,
I love it.
Well,
Thanks, Larry.
And of course, if anyone has any problems finding your websites or your books, we have it all linked off of shadowsinthedarkradio.com. They just need to go to the show page or either one of your bio pages that we have put up, which is a pretty nice list of books, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, we keep busy.
Yes. Well, is there anything, because we definitely covered a lot of ground tonight, and kind of here and there, time, ghost, numbers, anything that either one of you really wanted to get out there that we may have missed?
I would like to encourage people to read Sir Martin Rees's book, Just 6 Numbers. If you want your brains blown, this book explains how the universe itself, from the Big Bang and before, appears to be based on 6 numbers or mathematical ratios. It is one of the most profound books I've ever read. Sir Martin Rees, Just 6 Numbers, and we write about it in our book too. So That's what I wanted to say.
All right, Larry, how about you? Anything we missed that you'd really like to get out there before you leave us?
No, I think we've definitely covered the gamut tonight.
All right. Well, I can't say how much it was a pleasure to have both of you on. Excuse me, I'm about to choke to death there. But it was a lot of fun, honestly.
It was, yeah.
I really enjoyed having you both on. It's a very interesting book, and I do hope that everyone checks it out. And not only that, and the many others that you both have, checks out your website. Anything before you do leave us? Anywhere that anyone can see? I know we're talking about speaking at conferences. Do you have anything coming up soon?
I will be at the Queen Mary in Long Beach Harbor at the Darkness Science Fair on September 10th through the 13th. And Larry, how about you?
Oh gosh, what do I have coming up? I've got nothing really short term. I've got a conference that I'm speaking at in September or October. I can't remember, in Jefferson, Texas. I don't have my calendar in front of me.
Is it September 3rd or 4th? See how we're such good partners. We don't know where the other one is going to be. Go to the website. We have it all on there.
There you go. That's
and
what
Larry
the
does
website's
a lot
for.
of investigations, too. So.
Yeah, no, it's actually October 3rd, Jefferson, Texas. There's a paranormal conference I'm going to be speaking at. So.
All right. Well, Larry, one more question for you. What is the scariest situation you've been in?
You wait to the very last part to ask that, and that could have taken the whole hour.
And he doesn't mean in your work in law enforcement.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, gosh, you're going to have me back for this one.
It's a good one too. I can tell you, it really is. I know what he's thinking.
Yeah, you're definitely have to have me back, because it's a pretty long, involved thing. But I would say that I've never had anything truly scary on the investigations. I've never really had anything that was like you see on Ghost Hunters, the dude run moment. Nothing like that. But definitely, I've had some very unusual, very cool experiences.
Oh, all right. Well, we will definitely get you back on to give us the details on that. So we'll leave some suspense hanging out there.
Oh yeah, we have to leave suspense.
Yeah. Well, both y'all, really, it's been a pleasure having you on. It's been a blast, and I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Well, thank you for having us on.
Definitely, thank you.
You're more than welcome. So just hang on with us right quick. Everyone, we're gonna take a quick break, everyone. And when we come back, we're gonna get some news out there. We do have quite a few news stories. I know we saved it for the last part of the show tonight, and a few things going on that we want to let you know about it. So don't go anywhere. The news coming up. Visit www.shadowsinthedarkradio.com today to sign up for our free newsletter, join as a member of our forum, or browse our online store where you can find books, CDs, and DVDs, like a signed copy of The President's Vampire by Robert Damon Schneck, or the complete works of Dr. Gary Frick for only $20. That's 4 books signed by Dr. Frick that carry a great message. You will also find downloadable products like Mysteries Magazine and the Donald Kehoe interviews, DVDs featuring Charlie Carlson and Mr. Lobo. So go to www.shadowsinthedarkradio.com today and be a part of the show. All right, that was Larry Flaxman and Marie D. Jones on the 1111 Time Prompt Phenomenon. Do please check out their website. That is mariedjones.com. Marie is M-A-R-I-E. And paraexplorers.com. And the book is 1111, The Time Prompt Phenomenon. Like I said, I have been reading the book. It is a very, very interesting book. So if you get a chance to check it out, if you want to... if you're interested in time, numbers, synchronicity, it's all kind of covered in there, and it is a very objective book. It doesn't come out and say, well, this is what it is. They really kind of leave it up to you. So definitely recommend it. So I hope everyone enjoyed that. Now, we do have some news, and we have some things going on. Sorry, I keep coughing, choking. I think I'm coming down with a cold, and I apologize. But before we get into the news, we've got a few things I definitely want to let everyone know that is going on. First off, most are probably aware we've been asking for any volunteers that wanted to help out with Shadows in the Dark and all this wonderful, wonderful stuff that we have going on here, especially helping out in our forum as a forum moderator, as also helping out, sending out our show reminders and newsletters. We also posted something else. I don't remember what it was right offhand. Let's find out right fast, because there was 3 things that we definitely put up there. And that would be collecting news stories, helping us collect news stories. This is a daily thing, so we definitely want anyone who wants to help us out. We'd really, really appreciate it, because we are it's getting really, really busy over here, and just some help with a few little important things. Now, the big thing is that if you want to volunteer, it doesn't matter where you live. This all can be done online, and so it doesn't matter your time zone, your geography, whatever the case may be. And right now, I want to say that I want. Excuse me, getting all tongue-tied. I want to say thank you to those who have filled out our volunteer form and wanting to be that much more of a part of the show. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. And if you are interested in doing so, just go to shadowsinthedarkradio.com. On the home page, you will see a little header there that says "Be a part of the show," as a little "Help Wanted" sign. Just click on the Read More link, fill out that form, send it to us, and we will get in touch with you, talk to you about it, tell you exactly what we're kind of looking for in terms of help. We're not asking someone to do something every single day. Our goal is to kind of get quite a few people doing this, and that way we can, separate them between each other. So if you're interested, please, like I said, do fill out that form. We would really, really appreciate that. Now, one of the other things we've been talking about it, but we have finally set a date on it, and that is SM Radio International. So that is, we're really looking forward to get this up. And what exactly is SM Radio International? Well, that's going to be our own internet radio network. We have taken our dear sweet time on this, and that is, we have purposely done that, and the reason for that is because we want this to come out, and we want it to be nice. We want the website to look sharp. We want some great quality shows. We want this to be a top-notch internet radio network, and we're looking for the best of the best. It's going to be very, very diverse. We're going to have all kinds of shows on there, and we're just really, we want to plan this to be the best. So we don't want to rush it out there. We don't want to launch something and it's half done, kind of thing. And we want to make sure that when you tune in to SM Radio International, you are getting quality internet radio. Now, the launch date has officially been set for November the 1st. That is of this year, of course, so November the 1st, 2009. And like I said, this, we've been working on this, I don't know, maybe already about 4 months or something along those lines, not real sure, but for quite some time. And we're really looking forward to this because we've already got some great shows that are going to be involved. Of course, we're also going to simulcast some shows from Dark Plains Radio Network at darkplainsradio.com. Many things. So, this is, like I said, I can't tell you how excited I am of this. You tie this in, SM Radio International. Now we have Mysteries Magazine, which Mysteries Magazine will be going out. The first issue under us will be going out around the end of September, beginning of October. So if you haven't subscribed to Mysteries Magazine, we definitely encourage you to do so. Just go to our site, shadowsinthedarkradio.com, and click on the link that says store. You can sign up there, or you can even purchase back issues. And right now we're having a back issue blowout because we have so many back issues we don't know what to do with them. We are selling them for $3 a piece. So just go in there, pick out what you want, and we'll get them shipped out to you. So make sure to do that. Also, I mean, we have other things in the store as well. You know, Shadows in the Dark T-shirts. We got the paranormal magnets. You know, books, CDs, DVDs. So make sure to check those out as well. But again, SM Radio International launching November the 1st, 2009. Sorry, I'm watching the Dark Plains Radio chat room. But we also Mysteries Magazine coming out very, very soon. At least our first issue. So look forward to some great things happening around here. Like I said, we are very, very excited, and we couldn't have done it with such wonderful supporters as yourself. Also, I'll be speaking at quite a few conferences coming up around September. I will be in St. Augustine speaking at a conference down there on September 26th, as well as one in Wilkesboro in October, and another one in Charlotte in November. So we'll be posting up the we'll be posting up the dates, links to their websites, and all that very, very soon on our website, which, by the way, this weekend we're going to be getting a lot more of the content, the old content from the old site on there. So, you know, be looking forward to that. Hopefully, you know, it's going to take some time, but we're going to do it, and I hope no one really minded that we did kind of launch the new Shadows in the Dark website when we did. So we will get that out there. Now, someone is asking, how often does the newsletter come out? Well, the newsletter comes out once a month. We have kind of been slack on that, but we're going to be getting that back going. And the show reminders is the biggest thing that we're needing help with right now. Of course, the show reminders come out every Thursday and Sunday, approximately 3 hours before any show. And that is only for live shows. We do not send out show reminders if we do a rebroadcast. So if you want to help with that, that would be great. And if you haven't signed up for our show reminders, just go to shadowsinthedarkradio.com. On the right-hand side, you will see where you can do that. Well, let's get into some news. I always love the news, always find some great stories out there. So let's see what's going on around the world. This was a news story that was posted in our forum here. A con man who swindled people out of money by pretending to be a genie, or con men, who were pretending to be genies with supernatural powers, has been arrested in Bangladesh. The scammers would gather personal information about their victims beforehand, call them, and speak in a tone similar to Arabic. They then claimed to be genies who had descended from the sky and would tell people to send money to a specific location, threatening a family tragedy if they disobeyed. They would describe themselves as kings who recite Quranic verses, inject fear of Allah among their victims, and pretend to know some of their family secrets. Phone taps led police to the northern region of Bangladesh. In the past 3 months, 24 people were arrested, and police said some had become rich after just 1 year of working the scam. Wow, 24 people. That is kind of crazy. Well, U.S. Senator Bill Nelson called Tuesday for an organized hunt of thousands of pythons believed to be living in the Everglades to kill the snakes and prevent potential attacks. Nelson requested, that is in Florida, by the way. I don't know why we didn't have that. If you don't know where the Everglades is, that is in Florida. Nelson requested permission in a letter to Interior Secretary Ken Salazar, who got a close-up look at a 15-foot python found in the swampland during a May visit he hosted by the senator. The request also comes weeks after a 2-year-old Central Florida girl was strangled by an unlicensed pet python that escaped from in her home, drawing further scrutiny to the issue. I have really been tongue-tied today. Also Tuesday, another lawmaker, U.S. Representative Tom Rooney of Florida, introduced legislation to allow python hunts in the Everglades. Nelson has estimated 100,000 pythons are living in the Everglades, an invasive species population believed to be the result, at least in part, of pets being released into the wild when they grow too big. The senator asked Salazar to approve supervised hunts of the snakes by U.S. Park Service staff, other authorities, and volunteers to kill the pythons en masse. The invasive species have been multiplying in the Everglades for years. Kendra Barkoff, a spokesman for Salazar, said the secretary agreed pythons pose a significant threat to the Florida Everglades and must be dealt with immediately, but did not comment specifically on the idea of authorizing hunts. Nelson recently introduced a bill to ban imports of snakes after years of trying to persuade federal wildlife officials to restrict their entry into the country. At a hearing on the bill earlier this month, Nelson displayed a massive skin of a python on a table. I'm sure some of the animal rights activists are going to have a problem with that. Massive hunts of snakes, yeah, I can see that coming. Well, the Pfister in Milwaukee's most regal address, having hosted every U.S. president since William McKinley in the 1890s and scores of celebrities who can take a self-guided tour of the hotel's Victorian art collection. Today, it's the place to stay for upscale business travelers and out-of-town visitors, including many Major League Baseball teams. MLB Commissioner Bud Selig from Milwaukee is a frequent visitor. But some of the players don't care for the 116-year-old hotel's posh accommodations and reputation for privacy. They swear it's haunted. Gomez, San Francisco's Pablo Sandoval, St. Louis's Brendan Ryan, and several Florida Marlins all say they have had odd experiences, though Ryan later said nothing really happened. Others aren't willing to talk publicly about what they've seen and heard. Brewers' visiting clubhouse manager has heard it all from sleepy-eyed players who would rather hang out at the Miller Park than sleep 1 minute more than they have to at the Pfister. Of course, some of these could be mischievous teammates pulling pranks, but Pfister's ghost stories go well beyond the ballpark. Allison Jornlin, who leads haunted history tours for the folklore research organization Milwaukee Ghost, said guests have reported seeing a portly, smiling gentleman roaming the halls, riding the elevator, and even walking his dog. The apparition is said to resemble Charles Pfister, who founded the hotel with his father, Guido. Archaeologists in northern Peru have found the remains of a woman who was apparently killed in the 15th century sacrifice to calm the wrath of nature. The find was made in Chan Chan, the oldest mud citadel in the Americas. Experts said the skeleton corresponded to a woman who was 1.5 meters tall and aged about 17. She died around the year 1460 and belonged to the Chimu culture. Archaeologists found the body as they were working on the restoration of the outer walls of Chan Chan, around 600 kilometers north of Lima. One of the woman's feet had been amputated before she was hanged and her body thrown out near a wall. The gestures on her face suggested she screamed before she died, and archaeologists think that she was sacrificed. From what researchers know of the Chimu culture, the amputation of a foot was meant to prevent the sacrificed person from leaving the site in later lives. About 40% of the infrastructure of the Chan Chan site turned mud in 1982-83 due to rains from the climate phenomenon known as El Niño. Very interesting one there. Some young men were walking along a wooded bike path near Quinbog River when they found a black spearhead laying in the soil. It looked like part of an American Indian weapon, so they asked Richard Rogers, who owns the land, if they could dig for more. In 2 weekends, they found 80 spearheads in the area, about the size of a small bedroom. Rogers decided to see himself. He and his son, now 22, walked through the woods and brought a bucket of water to clean their discoveries. Near a stump by the river, Rogers picked up an oval stone a little larger than a silver dollar. Something was carved in it, and he handed it to his son. The stone was a rare pendant. They had stumbled upon an ancient American Indian encampment and part burial ground dated more than 3,000 years ago. I'm sorry, I was laughing at our chat room. Sometimes they get me cracked up. The State Office of Archaeology has excavated portions of the property and found hundreds of artifacts, from stone tools to evidence of a pit where cremated bodies were buried. Radiocarbon dating, a method used to estimate the age of remains in an archaeological site places the time of the two areas containing charcoal at 3,400 and 4,000 years ago. Representatives of different Native American tribes have visited the site. The Archaeological Conservancy, a private non-profit organization that acquires and permanently preserves important archaeological sites across the United States, has looked at it and will be publishing information about it in the American Archaeology magazine. American Archaeology, excuse me. I have been all tongue-tied tonight. I have forgot questions. I have coughed. I have hacked. What an interesting show, huh? But that is our news, and I tell you, such a fun show tonight. And I tell you, we got a lot of other great shows coming up, so I do apologize not having a lot of our upcoming shows posted on the website. But if you do want to know what's coming up, I'm going to actually tell you. So let me make sure I get that all in front of me. I can tell you this, coming this Sunday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, we are going to be welcoming our old friend R.G. Absher. If you are a longtime listener of the show or you have dug back in the archives, R.G. has joined us a couple times to talk about the haunted site of Wilkesboro, North Carolina. So he has wrote a book on the ghost of Yadkin Valley, and he will be joining us to talk about that and discuss that. RG actually joined us on our very first 24-hour broadcast, which we did do from Wilkesboro, North Carolina. He actually helped open up the show, so that was great. On the 23rd at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, that is Thursday, we will be inviting Patrick Burns to the show. Now, on Sunday, we will be having... we will be doing a rebroadcast. I will be out of town. And then after that, we're still working on getting all the information for the shows following the 26th. But we will have that posted very, very soon. So look forward to that. And now, of course, our news stories, you can find more news stories on shadowsinthedarkradio.com if you wish. There's a story about a huge blob of Arctic goo floating floating in the ocean there. So check that one out. That's a very interesting story. But like I said, we've got a lot of great things coming up. I'm really looking forward to them. And, all this, I can't tell you how much we appreciate all the people that have supported us, especially those at Dark Plains Radio. Definitely check out their lineup over there at darkplainsradio.com. They have got some great shows, and I know they've been adding a lot more shows over there on their lineup. Brian Hornwall is getting ready to bring his show over there, Beware Radio. You also have Beyond the Edge with Eric Altman and Sean Forker. Haunt the Hunters. That is a great show as well. So make sure to check out their lineup and everything we got going on. Of course, if you haven't, please check out our forum. We want you to become a part of our forum. Just go to shadowsinthedarkradio.com and check out that. Become a member of that. Check out our web store. We're also looking for photos of our fans, but we call family, of all of our other family members out there. Please send us your photos. We'll get those posted up on the website. You can send them to jgreer@shadowsinthedarkradio.com. We are going to add a forum so people can kind of send that over to us if you want to. And of course, they're saying in the chat room, it's good to hear me laugh. I tell you, it's just been a rough show tonight. But so I guess you guys have been trying to crack me up for quite some time now. I guess you kind of got me there. But I tell you, such a wonderful turnout for tonight's show, and I hope this. I hope we continue to grow. We keep seeing change. And I apologize, I'm kind of rattling on here. Am I? Just tell me to stop whenever you want me to stop. But we have fun here. We have a lot of fun, and again, I can't tell you how much everyone really supports us and all that. I mean, everyone is great on both, on Dark Plains Radio Network, and once we get SM Radio International up, I tell you, it's going to be just another knockout lineup of shows. and we're really looking forward to doing that. We hope everyone supports that as well. Of course, support Mysteries Magazine. It is now under our ownership, which is Shadows Media, and we're really looking forward to getting our first issue out there, and I think everyone will really like this. You should, if you haven't subscribed, I'm really, yeah, it's ours and whatnot, but I tell you what, this magazine is getting ready to go to a whole new level, and you don't want to miss out on it. I'll give you a little insight of what exactly we're going to be doing. So here's a few things. We're going to be involving a lot more original artwork. That is something that we're really looking forward to. A matter of fact, the first cover of our issue, which will be issue number 24, is going to be an original piece of art. This, more or less, a piece of art that was commissioned by Shadows Media for the magazine, painted specifically for the magazine. And this isn't digital art. This isn't. This will be an actual painting that we'll scan in at high resolution and put on the cover. So this will also exist as a separate piece of art. We have another one in plans to do the same thing. You'll also find this original artwork through the magazine. We are looking at taking the magazine to full color. Obviously, if we're using original artwork, be no point in having a black and white magazine. So we are also looking at taking the magazine to full color. So that's going to be a huge thing, as well as adding some new columns to it. One of the new columns we're going to be adding is On the Road with Mysteries. That is going to be a fun one, and that's basically going to be like a little travel guide. Each issue, which also some of this will carry over onto the website, which we're redesigning the website. But the On the Road with Mysteries, we will feature a place that you can actually go visit. It can be a haunted place. It could be a roadside oddity. It could be just where some kind of strange phenomenon takes place. It can be, I don't know. It could be lots and lots of things. So that's going to be an interesting one. Many people are going to contribute to that. Some that I'm sure you've heard of. And now we have Cinema Fan Tim is asking, will I be writing any articles for the magazine? Yeah, I'm sure I probably will, because I have a passion for this. We're not the people behind Mysteries Magazine now. We're not just putting out a magazine. We have a passion for this. We're involved in this. We've been ghost hunters. We've got those focused on the weird and strange. We got conspiracies and UFOs. Someone really directly involved with it that way. So you're going to see a lot of very cool things added. Also, we're going to be adding a section that deals with your experiences. So, you can send a story in that we'll publish and put in that section. And the name of that was I Know What Happened. I Know What Happened to Me. I think that was it. I don't know. We were actually putting up, trying to figure out some names for some columns the other day. But that's going to be a new one that's going to be added to it. So there's going to be some really great changes and enhancements to the magazine. We really hope everyone gets involved with it in some form or another. I mean, it's really, really going to be great. But I tell you what, I've rambled on enough. I know that we've got another show that's going to be following us, I believe, over on Dark Plains Radio. So if you want to jump on over there at some point, check them out, which I'm pretty sure if somebody, let's see, I'm actually going to find it here. Let's see. No, I know it's somewhere. No, that's us. Who comes on after us? I always thought there was a show that follows us. Maybe somebody can help me with that. No, maybe not. No, I don't see it on the lineup. Oh, well. If there is, I apologize. I thought there was. But, yeah, so a lot of great things going on, so make sure to keep an eye on that. We're going to be starting to plan our 24-hour broadcast, our third annual 24-hour broadcast as well. I tell you what, if I don't know if I'll ever sleep again, to be honest, but, we love it. It's fun. It's a blast. You guys have been great. This has been Shadows in the Dark, where the darkness is illuminated. Good night, everyone, and thank you so much for listening.
Visit www.shadowsinthedarkradio.com today to sign up for our free newsletter, join as a member of our forum, or browse our online store where you can find books, CDs, and DVDs, like a signed copy of The President's Vampire by Robert Damon Schneck, or the complete works of Dr. Gary Frick for only $20. That's 4 books signed by Dr. Frick that carry a great message. You will also find downloadable products like Mysteries Magazine and the Donald Kehoe interviews, DVDs featuring Charlie Carlson and Mr. Lobo. So go to www.shadowsinthedarkradio.com today and be a part of the show.